Well, welcome back to part 2 of the All Things Are podcast. We're still down here at our environmental training centre. We went on a little bit last time, didn't we?
We did.
And then we just had a good 45 minutes of just looking at like what's wrong with the industry, a couple of videos and all that stuff. It's been an absolute laugh. But we're going to get straight back into it.
Yeah, let's go.
Right, it's been an hour since I pissed the Arboriculture Association off, so let's get started again on them. I genuinely still don't know the answer to this one, but does the AA have like much of an input on how courses are curated?
At that level, I'm a bit unsure, to be honest. They don't have any sort of influence in the day-to-day runnings of things. That's LANTRA and MPTC tend to deal with that. I would like to think that there is consultation between MPTC, LANTRA and the AA. Wouldn't be surprised if there isn't. But the simple answer is I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
But it would be minimal, I would say.
So, because you've got LANTRA and MPTC, I'm MPTC, and I've always seen LANTRA as the slightly more unknown, lesser variant or like lower qualification. But from what I've been taught, MPTC and LANTRA teach to really how well they teach like kind of the same levels as such.
Yeah, I mean, they hate each other. We'll start there.
Yep.
Very much. 99.99999% of our customers phone up and ask for MPTC. Traditionally, your LANTRA tended to be your more sort of agricultural stuff, your quad bikes, your 4x4s, your spraying, that sort of stuff, although obviously MPTC do that as well. They're both now endpoint assessments, so they both provide assessments. I believe even before my time, it was a case of generally training was done by LANTRA to a LANTRA standard, certification done by MPTC. They're both certificating now. I think LANTRA probably does a bit more to do with training materials, perhaps. But yeah, I think they're both working against each other at the moment, I would say.
Yeah, because I never got told anything about LANTRA in college.
No, same here.
Yeah, it was only a good couple of years. It was like, oh, there's a competitor to MPTC.
Yeah.
And even nowadays, you could show me a LANTRA qualification and I'd look at it and go, well, have you been trained to the same level as MPTC? There's that element of doubt that I still have with it. So are you MPTC? Is that what you...
We deliver predominantly, our assessments are predominantly MPTC. We have, through an out centre, done the odd LANTRA, such as the BTI, LANTRA Basic Tree Inspection. But predominantly, as I say, customers lead, and our customers, rightfully or wrongly, want MPTC.
Product recalls. So,
oh dear.
As a trainer, you must have to be on the ball constantly.
Yeah.
How do you go about picking the right products for the lads? What I should have asked is, so I'm brand new to the industry. Can I come here and you'll provide all the kits and everything that I will need to complete the course?
Yeah, everything other than close to skin PPE. So boots, trousers, helmets, we don't provide.
Yeah.
We have, on occasions, when people have forgotten their boots, for example, on the day of the test, we will, do our best to help. But yeah, generally, saws, maintenance equipment, climbing kits, rigging kit, everything. We provide for you, so you can pretty much just turn up. We'll give you as much advice on PPE as possible. Yeah. Everything's personal, but yeah, we'll certainly help you along the journey on what to avoid and what to look out for in terms of good PPE. But yeah, we'd like to think that you can just turn up and be ready to rock.
Taken care of. So when it comes down to picking products, obviously we've got a few behind. We've got a New England. You've just told me what this was a minute ago as well, haven't you?
Poison ivy.
Poison ivy. So New England's a 13 and this is an 11.7. Is it still the go-to method? Like when you start off, you're best starting off on a 13mm rope, or is it just a case of what you're most comfortable with?
Yeah, I think it's very much personal preference, to be honest. What we like to do is we've got a number of various different types of ropes. We've got our 13mm ropes, we've got our 11.7s, we've even got 11mm ropes. So we like to give students a bit of a play with each so that they can sort of see the pros and cons. If you're thinking sort of longevity and stuff, your 16 strands tend to be a bit, a bit tougher. And then as you get a bit more finesse and start using mechanicals or want to get really dialed hitches, your 11.7s then come into their own, really.
Yeah, because my rope, it failed, and then I've switched over to XTC Blue Tongue from Yale.
Yeah.
And like that's a hell of a rope.
Lovely rope.
If I go climbing again, that'll be preference rope. Skylartech harness, spider jack. I don't know if I go for the latest one. I'd still like the 2.1 Dyneema. I'll still really like that one. And then again, DMM is my favourite brand for carabiners. I've got one even on my keys.
Yeah,
absolutely.
DMM and Rock Exotica, I'd say. One thing I will say on that though is, I don't know if you've come across it, is breaking gates on DMM carabiners.
No.
A lot of them, quite a lot. We've certainly had quite a few here. A DMM gear is second to none. It's exquisite, absolutely exquisite. But certainly I've had better experience with longevity of gates through Rock Exotica. Maybe because the little tab in the spring is metal.
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe DMM tested both plastic and metal and found that plastic was better. I had a discussion with Richard over at the Rope Lab, and he was saying that he's found that DMM are better, but then we're talking different working environments. So
yeah,
trees are pretty rough.
Environments, and if they actually look after the kit as well. Because if anything fails, your first question is, have you lowered it? And the worry is, do you do your daily check as well?
Yeah, that's it.
So that's my thing. You've not mentioned ISC. ISC is one of those companies. I've always liked the steel carabiners for doing the rigging and all that stuff.
Yeah, very much industrial stuff. ISC.
It feels bomb-proof. And then when DMM came out with those impact blocks, the grey and green coloured ones, that was like, ooh, DMM's got a bit of fashion.
Yeah, DMM's the Gucci.
Yes.
And ISC's the Land Rover. Or the DMM's the Bugatti, ISC's the Land Rover. You can plough it through rubbish and it'll come out all right on the other end.
Like Rock Exotica's never a brand I've really looked at, because it was mainly America, and it's kind of come into the UK a little bit. But it's never been one I've really thought of going, well, I'll kit myself out.
Yeah.
Any of that stuff.
No, I've always found Rock Exotica's stuff fantastic, to be honest. Their Pirate carabiner, I love their Pirate carabiner. But yeah, I've just never had a problem with them. That's the key for me, is reliability. And yeah, I mean, you go through my kit and it's Rock Exotica, DMM, and the odd bit of ISC chucked in there.
So what is in I'm always interested to see what other climbers have got.
My go-to climbing kit, Tree Motion harness. I've got a new Tree Motion Evo, just because I do find that helps with the two rope working. We won't get into whether it's technically redundancy or not.
We'll get into it.
But so Tree Motion harness tend to be pretty basic on my climbing, just because what works for me works for me. Yeah. Yale cordage ropes, 11.7 Blue Tongue, and a Limelight, or a Kernmaster. Generally I'll have a double rope system, hitch climber, 9 times out of 10. I'm not a massive fan of mechanicals, and then a rope wrench. I love the rope wrench. It's not for everything, but yeah, I love the rope wrench. I mean, I've had my rope wrench since rope wrenches were a thing, and it's been around the world with me twice, and they're great bits of kit.
Right, let's really kick things off.
Yeah, two rope work. Wow. It's a thing.
Why do we need it?
It's a thing. Why do we need it?
Yeah, I'm against it.
Genuinely, I've seen people fall out of trees.
I fell out of a tree? Yeah.
Some of those times, it could have been avoided by the use of a second rope. Other times, potentially not.
Yeah. Again,
as we said in part one, it's all down to liability at the end of the day. And that's simply what it comes down to. Everything's fine until it goes wrong. Back history on it, obviously, work at high regs 2005, should be climbing with a backup. Okay, how that backup is configured, but the wording is it must be a backup, and we've technically never had a backup. I totally buy into it's slower.
Yeah.
It's more gear intensive, etc., etc., etc. I certainly would not want to go out wreck climbing with 2 ropes. That would be like the most annoying thing in the world.
Yeah, it killed day for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, totally. But from an employer's point of view, anything that potentially makes your lads safer, And I will be honest, people who say, oh, it makes it more dangerous. I don't know where they're coming from.
Yeah,
I don't know where they're coming from. If you cannot organise 2 systems correctly in a tree, you probably shouldn't be in the tree, because your world's greatest tree climbers, when they need to, will use 2 systems, whether it's the end of their rope or a completely separate system. I mean, back in the day with the old units, they used to get taught as standard to use the end of your rope as a second attachment point. You know, so the benefits outweigh the negatives ever so slightly, maybe.
Yeah, a lot, including me. I'm guilty of this. I've not looked into it. I've not needed to look into it. I'm not going to go climbing any soon.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, so I'll get my side out and then you correct me where I'm wrong on it. When it comes down to it, the first thing I go, great, it's another 100 quid on the rope and it's another 200 quid on building an actual climbing system, because for me it'll be another spider jack.
Yeah.
I need to use, I've arrived at the tree, I've got my first line in, do I now need to put a second line in straight away?
Technically, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you say we always should have a second point of contact to the tree, which I agree with, but for me that's always been my lanyard or an actual strop. Why isn't that good enough anymore?
I mean, the simple way to put that is, let's just say you're doing a nice little 1 meter reduction on a mature beach, let's say. Nice leggy beach.
Yeah.
You're out there, you're tied in to your main anchor, bomb-proof, absolutely bomb-proof anchor point. You're right out on the tips. You cut your rope, you've lanyarded into the tips. The tips ain't going to hold you in the tree. And that's the key. It's having a supplementary weight-bearing anchor point. That's the key, as opposed to a work positioning. So you have your full protection, then you have your work protection. Your work positioning, sorry. Your lanyards are perfect for just whipping around a tiny piece of epi just to keep you in that position to complete the cut. But the reality is, if the anchor point fails or you cut your line, those tips aren't going to support your weight. And that's the simple.
Yeah, completely agree with you on that. But then again, I'll play the game.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be in a position where you're going to hit your main line, because you've clearly not got yourself into the right position in the first place.
Goes back to working for the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
That's all it comes down to. I think maybe a better way to reduce accidents in the industry would to be, like I said, have a more structured learning system where you can't just turn up on a week-long course or a 5-week course and then rock out and call yourself the greatest arborist that's ever walked the earth, fully insured and fully qualified. You still don't know your dick from your elbow. Excuse me, I probably shouldn't have said that, but yeah.
But we get taught in this industry, make the job as easy as possible and try to damage your body in the process. So in your scenario where you're out on the tips on the branch, well, can we use the guys like bring yourself back in a little bit to something a bit girthy, something bigger than your wrist.
Yeah.
If you're still needing to go a meter, send the pole pruner up the tree and start using it that way. But people don't think of doing that because they immediately go, well, a decent silky is 275 quid to get a full set to do it.
Yeah.
Or if I need to go get some fiberglass poles just as another ad, it's more expense.
It is more expense. It's more expense, but it's less expense than a court case.
Yeah, but there's too many people in the industry that go, I'd rather risk it, I've got insurance.
There is. You go driving around now, okay, 99% of climbers will be on single ropes. The amount of lads that I train and then I see on their Instagram, they do the test on Saturday and I see them working on Monday and they're Instagramming with a single rope because the boss has told them to get rid of it because it takes up time or whatever. And it's such a emotive subject. Yeah. But I think the biggest naysayers are similar to the SRT naysayers in the beginning, where it was a case of fear of the unknown. I've not had to do that before, so therefore it must be dangerous, or it must be slow, or it must be rubbish. There's pros and cons. Let's just say that.
I'm open to it. I'm always open to everything because I want to hear. For me, there's 3 sides to every story of it.
Yeah, totally.
But to just go, the industry's been so long on, like our old system of you've got your secondary, you've got your main. And it's been like that, and it's worked for so long. So when they came in with saying, like, you need to, for me, like, main anchor points, it was like, hang on, like, big companies, they may have the money to go, right, we've got to kiss out all our climbers, we've got to reintroduce this. It just seemed like a shit ton of cash for not a lot in improvements in safety as such.
Yeah, I think time will be the real judge of it, really. When the accident statistics come out, from the next couple of years, if those accident statistics have not improved drastically, you can say that there's either two things going on. It's either not safer or people just aren't complying. I would say, from my experience, not complying. Yeah. I asked a local arbor-proof company, because I saw a photo on their LinkedIn, of a person working on a single rope, and I asked them how they got about it, and instantly I think they thought that I was sort of trying to not be aggressive, but I was purely interested at that point. I was a contracts manager. I was wondering how they were dealing with it, because I respect that company. I think at the time someone else potentially may have bad-mouthed them for doing it. And I think they thought that potentially I was that person, which I wasn't. We've spoken since, but it's a massive issue for, I understand where employers are coming from. I was a contracts manager when it first came out, and I remember the lads going, and what the blue, how am I supposed to do this? I can't do that. The kickback from it was unreal. But I think, very simply, it's wait and see what the accident statistics say, because that's the key, isn't it? It's making work safer for people. Yeah. And I'm a massive, anything that you can do to make your life safer at work, it should be a good thing.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's really come out and said, this is what we're doing it for. Because, again, the people...
They have. Simply to comply with the HSE and the work at height regulations. That's basically the sort of long in the thick of it. Is the HSE looked at the industry and went, you guys aren't compliant.
Yeah, but HSE look at every single industry, and they reached out to the Arboriculture Association and said, look, we need to work with you guys on this. Yeah. And that's where I have little gripes with the Arbor Association industry. Say, oh, hang on, why don't you actually ask your members? Why don't you ask the wider community what their opinion was? It may have found, two rope working was the answer, or there may have been something different. But it felt like the Arbor Association just went, oh, the HSE want to work with us. Yes, we'll do whatever you want us to say.
I don't necessarily call me a skeptic, but I think if you put a consultation out, I think everyone would have come back and said, forget your two rope working, it's pointless. So I think the HSE, it wasn't a case of, and the AA, just playing devil's advocate, I don't think it was a case of not wanting to consult the industry. I think from the HSE's point, it was, you either comply with the work at height legislation, law, or you don't. And we simply didn't. And we couldn't argue a good enough case to either get an exemption through law or an exemption through just simple practicalities. The AA, whoever, couldn't fight out a case strong enough. And therefore, we are in the position that we're in. With TG1 being, I'm told, rewritten, although it's only just come out January 2020. It's being rewritten as we speak.
No, surely not.
It is.
I got my books a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
But I do anyone who is getting in the industry, I do advise those books.
Yeah, no, they're a great reference. Yeah. I certainly, I think every company should have one. One of each, definitely, especially things like crane work, which there is no guidance. There's Reg Coates videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm weak.
And that's it, really. The technical guides are good. TG1, I don't envy the authors. I would not want to be in their position.
Chris did it, and I feel sorry, lad. I can't remember the other guy's name, but Chris Cooper,
Matt Brooker.
Matt Brooker. Yeah, okay, that's the other one. But yeah, they are good. What books would you recommend to people starting out then?
What books?
Yeah.
TG 1 to 5. So it's a good reference point for everyone. Climber's Companion is a fantastic old book.
Yeah.
It's like, I think that was the first one that I sort of had.
Yeah.
Get yourself a Collins Tree Guide.
Yeah. I've got a beautiful hardback version of it just to look at it. Yeah.
Well, the new, who was it now? Humphreys and, forgive me, Chris Wright maybe?
Humphreys.
David Humphreys and Christopher Wright.
Oh, the fungi books.
Yeah.
Fungi ones. Yeah.
Fantastic. If you're into that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
The Fungi on Trees is a fantastic book. You know, they've done really well with that. Just a little caveat on that, you know, you can never be 100% sure unless you're a mycologist looking at spore sizes, but we won't go down that route. But yeah, I'd say, yeah, TG 1 to 5, really handy. That book, How to Fell a Tree, that's quite a good little one for foresters potentially, or those that are quite keen on their felling.
How to Fell a Tree.
Can't remember the chap's and the author's name, but it is called How to Fell a Tree.
Yeah. There's another one with a bear on the front, a little yellow bear.
Oh, you're thinking
No, I'm thinking of, no, it's a...
you're thinking of Matek and Stupsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm miles away there.
Yeah, Diagnosis of Ill Health in Trees, fantastic book. Body Language of Trees by Matek, fantastic. Yeah. And his condensed sort of field guide to visual tree assessment.
Field guide, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Fantastic, fantastic books. Yeah.
So just go back to the 2-rope stuff.
Yep.
When you come here, you are now automatically taught on 2 ropes.
Yes, you are.
There's all the old school stuff's way, it's now 2 ropes, and then when you're qualified and all that stuff, you technically should carry on working on 2 ropes.
Yep.
If HSC rocked up on me today and I'm on 1 rope, what do I do? Do I just go, do I give them a sub story? Do I palm them off? Or do I know I'm breaking?
I'm not a solicitor.
Oh yeah, disclaimer, anything here in this podcast isn't blah, blah, blah.
But as far as I'm aware, ignorance is not a defence in court.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you'd be unfortunate for the HSC to turn up on
To leave
site.
the office.
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's it. They are a money-making organisation now. They don't proactively go out. They only respond to reports generally. I don't know. I think they'd probably have very stern words with you. As for, you know, whether they went down the route of prosecution, I really don't know. But I can certainly say if they know what they're looking at, which is the big thing, they've actually got to know that you're doing it wrong, they probably wouldn't look on it very well, I would have said.
What's your favourite tool in the industry?
Oh, favourite tool in the industry?
Yeah.
Probably the rope wrench.
Because you do love that rope wrench, don't you?
It's certainly for like when we go climbing abroad, it has really massively opened up tree climbing. Like I would never want to double rope 270 foot. Like that would be hard.
I don't think I'd be able to climb 270. I
So,
could barely climb 20 foot.
Actually, I'll swap that for, well, no, let's say the rope wrench and the axe safe ascender. Fantastic bits of kit. But yeah, the rope wrench has revolutionised tree climbing. And more importantly, it's extended, or SRT has extended my climbing career. The tennis elbow went, etc., etc., etc. So yeah, SRT as a lumped up bit of kit.
Yeah. All right. Thank you to everyone who's listened to the first part of the podcast. And sorry it's taken us till now to go the tree.
The tree.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a real tree, isn't it? It's an
It is. It is, yeah. It's an oak tree.
Right. Just run me through your thinking of going, let's stick a tree inside a building.
Okay, very simply, it's really nice to use for the sort of basics. Instead of just throwing your rope, like, right, we're going to learn how to tie a knot, instead of just throwing it over a gate post or a chair or something like that, it creates something a little bit more real. It's really good for being able to demonstrate things in a very sterile environment to make sure that your students understand the intricacies and feel comfortable instead of being out in the rain, the blowing wind, with the trees moving around, you're shouting at them because you can't be up the tree with 4 people telling them all what to do at the same time. So it's really good for giving the basics, getting people comfortable, getting the harnesses set up, the operation of the prusik, how it works, how they come down, nice safe environment, and then we take things outside.
Would you say since you've had the tree, obviously it was put in before, I think like the windows or the door was even in, wasn't it?
Well, it came through the door.
Has it had a different approach where new people to the industry, but I was able to get hands-on with a tree straight away?
Yeah.
Compared to like the old methods of watching and then reading and going, okay, now we can advance into the tree.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, it's having the ability to just do a couple of changeovers with a perfectly safe anchor point, no environmental influence from wind and rain, etc. It definitely makes people more confident in just simple things like, yes, I know that unclipping this carabiner and putting it to there is what I need to do. Instead of doing it halfway up a tree where they're having to shout down, I'm having to shout up, or right, I'll come up to you after I've come across from their tree. So no, it is, it's fantastic. The only time we've had to use it for a course was for some ecologists. We were just doing a two-rope, funnily enough, two-rope refresher on for them. And we had an absolute gale. It was not Storm Arwen. It was the one before. We had lightning, everything. You know, it was either cancel the day's training or run it in here. And we ran it in here, so it was fantastic for that.
Because you got the anchor points built into the building itself. You're not attached to the tree just because you don't want to put too much wear and tear on the tree. It goes down a bit, doesn't it? It's not just sat onto the ground. How far does it go down?
2 meters. 2 meters, just over 2 meters. So basically, you know, the giant sort of concrete drain pipes. It's one of those dropped, or a couple of sections of those dropped down. We then brought the tree in, sort of winched it up into the ceiling, dropped it down, and then it's been completely chopped with railway sleepers, with the thought that we're going to have to replace it at some stage.
What happens when it finally gives out? How are you digging it out?
Well, first of all, we can use it for a rigging course. No, we'll take it down piece by piece, probably put it on the log burner to keep the office warm, and then find another tree and stick it in. But it will be a case of we'll dismantle it like a normal dismantle, I think, and then once we'll probably have to use sort of an A-frame to get the butt out, because they're well chopped in there, and then winch the butt out, and then we'll be able to take the sleepers out and replace it.
Do a stump grounding course before you finally get it all out.
Just watch out for the electric CAT scan around the lights.
So I can't get over it. It's a tree inside a building.
Yeah, so literally, we went out into the woods with the forester.
I'll have that one, please.
Picked a tree, rigged it up like something out of 50 Shades of Grey.
Actually, how did you get it down?
You can't just drop a tree. Yeah, that's it. So
I used to dropping them and just go, oh, that was look good.
So we set up some pretty fancy rigging systems with remote and floating anchors and whatnot.
Have you got videos of it?
Soft felled it. No, unfortunately not.
That.
Unfortunately not. It was such a rush to do.
Yeah.
It was. We were really pushed for time, so it was a case of just get the job done. And then we had to get it on the back of a trailer, and then fortunately no public roads, but
I was going to say, how did you get it from the woods to here?
Straight across the fields, through the hedgerows, underneath the power lines. Oh, it was a mission, but we did it. Do you
know how heavy it is at all?
That's a good question, actually. No, we don't know, because most of the lifting was done by a telehandler, so we didn't know too much, but I'd give it a guess at a couple of tons when it first arrived, and then we've had to chop a few bits off.
Tell me about the conversation you had with the landlord when you came up with this idea.
So landlord, initially this barn was just an open tin roof barn where the contracting company used to keep their bits and bobs, logs and stuff. Landlord wanted to knock it down, basically, because it was unsightly and he didn't particularly like it. Yeah. He wanted a showroom for his sawmill business, so he decided that he was going to take a bit of the barn back. And he pretty much gave us free license. He said, "What do you guys want?" And
you had the idea to stick it through?
We said, we'd like a viewing balcony, we'd like a tree, we'd like a big open shutter door so that we can get vehicles and chippers in if we have to. And I mean, the landlord is a massive tree lover, huge tree. I think it's one of the largest private planting schemes in the UK, self-funded. It's also got the Birmingham Institute of Forest Research, their FACE facility just across the fields. So, massive advocate of trees, massive advocate of carbon sequestration. Yeah. And it was just a case of do whatever you want as long as it relates to trees. Couldn't have asked better.
Does everyone have the same impression when you first walk in, like I did today, going, oh shit?
Yeah.
Incredible.
Everyone. We have people who, people will come just to look at it. Like genuinely, they'll be going up to the farm or up to the estate or whatever, and they'll just like catch a glimpse of it. Because in the mornings, when I first come in the morning, I just switch the bottom lights on, and it's like the
Oh,
off light,
show off.
and it looks so cool. And people just see it through the big glass windows, and they're like, "What?" But yeah.
So what are your plans next for the business then? You're thinking of more sensors, more trees?
No, we just want to keep improving on what we're doing, basically. We are a very new business. We opened late 2019. I think we ran like 2 courses and then just shut the doors for COVID.
Yeah.
Because again, customer is king for us. And we at the time, we just couldn't work out a way to do it safely. And, you know, we were back in 2020, no one really knew what the crack with COVID was. So it was very much a case of, we can't guarantee the safety of our staff or our clients, so let's just knock it on the head. So we kicked off again March last year, and we've just gone from strength to strength. So it's just keeping on doing what we're doing. We'd like to offer a wider variety of courses coming up soon, more availability. But getting staff is a big issue. Getting assessors is a big issue.
Full just vanished, haven't they? HS2 again.
Yeah, no, it's very true. So nothing in terms of expanding, just refining what we do. You know, we want to do what we do extremely well. And that's
Was there any stage where you thought, I can't pull this off, this is just getting too much?
I mean, yeah, still have those days, to be honest. You know, like I say, we're still a new business. There's a lot of competition out there, you know, which is why I say that is our key thing, is to do it better than everyone else. Simple as that. Yeah, no, there were lots of ums and ahs, and are we doing the right thing? And, you know, is it worth it? You know, because everyone else, well, not everyone else, but lots of people are doing it out of sheds, out of, you know, just
because
containers. You know, so
because if I went on a training course nowadays, I'd expect to be in like the middle of the woods, no matter what the weather is, doing a course. I wouldn't think in a million years coming to a centre like this and going, well, if it's raining outside, I can work, do a little bit in the tree. There's a full classroom.
Yeah,
this place.
Yeah, we've got welfare facilities as well out on site. So if the weather's particularly gruesome or we're going to be out all day, we do have a welfare bus with a toilet. You know, where you can sort of heat up food and hot water and stuff. And it's not always there to be used. You know, one thing we are quite keen to do is bring a lot more women into the industry. We've had a lot of women come into the industry. You know, many of them are more than happy to follow the lads and go for a wee in the woods, and others just aren't comfortable with 4 leching blokes. You know, so again, it's bringing it up and raising the professionalism. Yeah. You know, to the standard of, like I say, IRATA, Sprat, and other sort of industry training organisations. You know, we're not paying pennies for training. You know, you're spending hundreds of pounds on training. Is it too much to ask to be warm? No. I mean, granted, when we're not producing fairies. You know, if you're going to be an arborist, you're going to get wet, you're going to get cold. It's tough.
Yeah. And you've got to be ready to work outdoors.
Exactly, that's it. And that's why we are very firm that this tree is not, you don't spend the whole week on here, you spend an hour or 2, you know.
All right, last question. What do you think is going to change in the industry in the next 5-10 years?
I think in the next 5 to 10 years, I think mechanised felling is going to be... Tree shears is going to be a massive, massive thing. I think with the likes of ash dieback, a lot of people calling for mechanised felling only on ash dieback. I think it's going to push a lot of climbers out of the industry. I think wages are going to push a lot of climbers out of the industry, or as traditionally they already have done, is leave the country, go off to the places where you can earn proper money. Australia, New Zealand, Canada, the States, Europe. You know, although Brexit's kind of
Washed that idea a little bit.
Yeah, so the dream of popping over to Sweden for a couple of weeks at a time, or, you know, the Netherlands or somewhere like that. Sweden's not even in the EU, is it? Or is it?
I don't know. Let's not look at
geography.
No. Identify trees.
But yeah, no, I think basically, long and thick of it, I think a lot more mechanised felling. A lot of people flipping big chippers on motorways with 18-year-olds driving massive bandit chippers towed behind a little transit.
I I'll give Joe, if you're listening, send me the picture when you literally take that bandit over because it's happening. You cannot put it behind a transit and I expect not to get pulled.
Yeah.
I'm literally, all the wood chipper manufacturers right now are literally just going, oh, next year, come April time, I think the 6-inch chipper is potentially now dead.
Yeah.
Because when I started, I obviously didn't get my tool license, had to go for 6-inch, and then went to a 9-inch, and it was like, oh my God, we have to do like a quarter of having to cut up to make sure it fits in the chipper.
Yeah.
And then we work with a bandit, and I'll say this, Dean Emblin, if you're listening, bandits scare the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, I don't need a bandit.
Definite destruction.
Even when you look at them, you're like, that's a serious, serious machine. But yeah.
But yes, I think that's another thing as well. The size of chippers is I mean, already, I mean, I know when I started this industry, I mean, granted, the Midlands is a fairly small place in the grand scheme of things, but, you know, it was very, if you saw someone rolling around with a 190 Timberwolf, it was like, oh, yeah, he's doing all right. He is. He's, you know, he's got 9 inches there.
Yeah, you do.
Whereas, you know, nowadays, 9-inch chippers, you know, TR8 or an ST8, they're pretty meek, aren't they? You know,
and the entry level nowadays.
Yeah.
Right, mate. Thank you very much for being on the podcast.
It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for inviting us down to this place. How can people get in touch with you?
Instagram, ETC Trees or etctrees.com, Environmental Training Centre. Stick us in Google. But yeah, if you want an informal chat, ETC Trees on Instagram is a good place. Just drop me a DM. If you want more formal, go through email and whatnot on the website.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, mate.
Thank you very much. Cheers. Nice one.